When Melissa struck, I was in South Korea representing the government of Jamaica for an IDB meeting. I saw in Korea that Bob Marley was replaced, Bolt was replaced, or music was replaced, or beaches were replaced, and Black River had, for the time, become the face of Jamaica. I am about half an hour away from Black River. That's where I grew up, just south of Monroe. So I went to Monroe College, Boboski Watton, for those of you who have had the privilege. But what I saw was amazing. Then I came back on I couldn't get back through American Airlines or any of those. So I had to find, Acadian found for me that Cayman Airways were coming in. The Prime Minister arrived early in the morning, and by mid-afternoon, Cayman Airways brought me back in on the Friday, I think it was, because no flights happened on Thursday, so the first flight was on Friday. By the time I came back Saturday, we were in meetings. What I did was look at my ministry and converted it into the Business Restoration Working Group. All the agency heads, all 21 of them, working under the PS and myself, made sure we brought that team together and said, the Prime Minister gave me a mandate, actually mandate came after I did the collapsing into the working group, that we must fix back businesses to get them up and running. Clearly, Grace doesn't need my help, and if Grace needs me, they know where to find me. They call me, I'm going to answer the phone very quickly. Some people, although I give out my phone and the radio, some people don't have the phone number. So we have to go look for them. And what we're looking at is the MSMEs. So we went out, and let me give you some idea of what we've done. What we looked at, 20% of our businesses operating in Jamaica, not the big ones, come to about 15,000 odd, 20%. We didn't go higher than that. We said, look, if you look at this 20%, what is going to cost us? A big, big number. I'm not going to waste your time with that. So we said, all right, we're in the cabinet. It's Prime Minister, given the mandate you've given us, we looked at what we have to do for mom and pop stores, bring them back up. We said we want $20 million to start with 50. Cabinet reviewed it, gave us the money. Out we went. So we went down to Border, and Border is really a very easy name. It's right where one sign says Westmoreland and the other one says St. Elizabeth, right at the border, and Border is technically in Minister Green's constituency. So we found 44 shops there. Harry and myself, we went down with Dr. Riley and some others of our team. Harry brought his engineers. Subsequently, later on, we got engineers from BSJ for the generators. And we said, here is a cluster. There are 44 families, mainly women, but some men, who operate from there. Everybody knows it. There are 26 fishermen that supply them. There are any number of farmers that supply the food and the vegetables that go into the whole thing, and we took it on. They get a contractor, and Minister Morris Dixon, myself, and Minister Green, a couple others were at a dinner last night, and we were talking about the procurement process. And what the procurement process does to getting things done. It's not made for emergency. It was never made for emergency. And yes, they tell you that there's an emergency contract, and you try that. When you have people don't have any roofs over their heads, a little sun come out between 8 and 10, and then the rain come back and you get wet up again. Shops, the rice wet up and the sugar now, I see all of that in White House. So we have to, and yet we have to make sure, as Minister Morris Dixon said, make sure we do everything in an accountable way. We can't take taxpayers' money. When I was at NCB and we want to build a branch and we want to give out $200 million, we have a meeting with the board and we're done and we give out the money. Or if I have my own money I want to give, I can't do that with taxpayers' money. So we have to work with what we have until we change the rules. And I'm saying right here now, for a long time, I have been on the record, so like so many ministers and so many other people in government, that we have to change those rules. I mean, we know how that is. Cabinet makes those decisions and it goes to Parliament and so on. But the emergency of Melissa especially tells us that we have to do some work on that part of legislation. So we have all those numbers I tell you. We looked at over 600 businesses. About 262 were in Trelawney. We have another bunch of 285 in Hanover. We have 18 St. Elizabeth, about 30 or so in St. James. A lot of businesses, and these are where we have visited them. How do we get to visit them? We call the biggest contractors. The first meeting I had, in fact, was with distributors. All the big distributors. Grace, Caramed, Blasco, Wisinco, all of them. And we had 100 people in the meeting, the business community, and say, we're going to have to get the businesses back up. Why? Because we can't keep giving out care packages to people. First, after all, they don't want it. Not that they want it, but they don't want it that way. They need to get their lives back up and running. And so you have to have businesses running. Why do you have business running? Because the distributors have, I visited many of the warehouses. Some of them told me that they have goods enough for 7 weeks to 6 months. And you see more coming in. So we had the goods coming in. The distribution network had to work so that we pull it through. We're setting up these businesses so we can pull it through to the retail, get goods on people's tables and in their houses, so that the Honorable Favour Williams, running the Ministry of Finance and Public Service, will have revenues coming into her coffers so that we can look after what we must do. If we don't pull those merchandise, whether it's hardware or foodware or bleach, if you don't pull that through, we won't get the revenues. So it's vital that we got businesses back up. Not people, of course. You hear a lot of reports every day on how people have to be looked after in their homes and give them food, and hospitals and farms have to get back. But businesses were there, have been there working quietly. So where are we now? We looked at, we put in a contractor through JBDC to fix border. It's pretty much done. In the sense that the structures are back up, and you should see them. We made sure the first structures that were there were not embedded in concrete. Every one that has gone up, every one of the 44 that has gone up, embedded in concrete and straps with hurricane straps, so that the least of the wind won't blow it away. We're not going to look for a category 5. We can't stand that, but it's strong. We're doing all that. Sean Paul was down there early with us, and Sean gave some people some board and zinc and so on. And then when we came, we saw Sean, and I talked to his people. I haven't seen him. He was off in Dubai doing his business. And we said, the people came to us and said, look, we don't have anything in our house. We don't have, we need the zinc to go in our house. We need the board. 2 or 3 of them came to us and said, if you're going to fix this back, and they asked me, stand up in my face and asked me, you putting it up to tax us? Because the rumors start, of course. Government put it up so they can tax you and get your name. And I said, no. How many containers? That's one of the ladies that talked to me. I said, how many containers you bring in a week? She said, containers? I said, I don't bring in any containers. I said, you know how many containers Grace brings in? I said, you know how many containers Wisinco brings in? Why am I going to talk to you about taxes? So we know we're not going to tax you. We're here really to help you. She said, all right. Please take this down and give it to me so I can go to my house and put it in my house, because we fix everything for them. When you pass here, you'll please it. But then we went on. So Sean Paul is a corporate that came in early. I spoke to another big corporate house. They will take care of all the painting, all the decorations, all the naming of the shops, millions of dollars. They say, we'll do it. Then you have to have a revetment at the back. We're going to put in some boulders, either stones and or concrete to keep the water out because you don't want them flooding back into the place. We're going to make sure that there's some eating places. We're putting some kitchens behind there that they can use. So whatever the Prime Minister said, and he was saying before Minister Green and myself yesterday, we're not building back better. No, we're going to do better than that. We're building for the future better than we ever were. So anything we're doing down there, whether you're in, you see what Student Loan Bureau, them building already for the future better than it ever was, like she was down here listening. So, you know, that's how we have to do it. And I'm glad the PS is here. I'm glad Harold is here. I'm glad Dr. Riley is here. You understand why me push so hard. We can't do things like we used to do and become the Jamaica that we have to become. So understand. Luckily you understand I come from the private sector. I don't. All my life, I lived in an organization, in an industry that you were always under scrutiny because you're around banks. So I'm not afraid to hear that the Auditor General is coming. I leave every summer, going and look at whatever I do in the bank. Not afraid of that. We can't be afraid of that. But we must also get things done urgently. People are in desperate need, and we can't just wait until it's convenient. Where's my mic? Hello? The moment I talk about Auditor General, they cut me. You can't do that. Come on. who's anyway, you can hear me. Yeah, I don't need a mic. So we're looking at those houses, but those businesses. We have the biggest meat operation and grocery operation in White House. We're looking at putting on the roof. The roof went. The cold storage went. We called Jamaica. They work with Jamaica Brothers Group and us, and the cold storage went back up. It's a big place, and it's the main thing there. And we now need, Harold, we have been a little bit back and forth with this. I want to see the back and forth done. I want really a decision by today, tomorrow, that we go in and start fixing. And we're not going to waste taxpayers' money, but we're not going to wait forever either. So we need to get that done. That's the way we really have to work to get this back up. Then, Monday morning, I hear the Prime Minister announce that, hey, I'm going to ask Minister Hill to go up to Akampong and see what's happening up there and look at what's going on. So, as the newscasters finish, I may understand what them said. Me call Cliff and say, Cliff, you hear what the Prime Minister said on radio? So you and your team leave now and go up there and look at it. They looked at 26 or so businesses. So by the time I get to Cabinet and the Prime Minister was giving us a briefing and how it went and so on, I said, my team is in Akampong right now. Subsequently, we understand, of course, Akampong is a cultural part of our history, and Minister Grange handles that. So we had an agreement before we left Cabinet, as I told you yesterday, Cliff, that Minister Grange and I, when the generators are going in, we're going up, and the roofs that we're helping to put back will be going up there to make sure everything goes well. But you were well received. You didn't have any issue, and you got your work done with your 25 houses. So what else are we looking at? When you look, we're now going to move to another cluster in middle quarters, but I've gone to all those constituencies in St. James and the other parishes that we're looking at that are badly affected. The key is that we have to move fast. So we went in for the generators. We went out, and all of these places I visit, all of them, I didn't know Minister Bartlett's constituency was so big. I drive till I'm tired. And I'm not driving. So you understand that MPs have a lot of ground to cover. And we called them and said, where should we go? After we check with the distributors so that they're in business. And then we went and looked, and we installed, 11 generators by now. The first constituency we actually went with, because of a comment that Minister Morris Dixon made this morning, was not a JLP constituency. It was in South St. James. MP Birchall's constituency. PS and the team were in there first time looking at everything. We looked at 13 or 15 shops. More we started there in putting in generators. We're going to put more so that the businesses can operate. And where are we putting them? We're putting them in the main shops in the communities, where usually they sell meat, they sell flour, they sell bread, so that they become the center of community development. Why? Because we are working, Minister Marks, Senator Duncan, Alok Jan in the Prime Minister's office, and myself, we're working to get, and others doing the technical work, we're not doing the technical work, to get a voucher system in place to help pull those goods through the supply chain. Mothers who don't now have a job and have to take care of our kids going to school, they need help. Other people who are elderly and need some additional help, they'll get some vouchers. That's being worked out. It's not yet in process. And of course, yesterday I had a press conference with Dr. David Lowe of the DBJ, and that $1 billion that is now ready to be deployed. How is it going to be deployed? Additional funds to people, mainly in the MSME regions. And then we have Exim Bank working with them. The MSMEs that are operational are desperate to get some financial relief. Dr. Lowe and myself are working that they will get a moratorium on their principal and interest. The same thing for Exim Bank. And therefore, we see that as we look at building up businesses back so that business can get going, to get us avoiding constant care packages and revenues coming into the government, but getting Jamaica back up to a place where very quickly we become the symbol of a country that has gone through pretty much a near disaster, a disaster in some places. Many places, Parity people, I went down there, the houses are flattened and the sea was up in maybe a kilometer in. So all those things are coming back. But you know something, as the Prime Minister said, we are known for building a country back from a place where we were a basket case. Well, we now have the opportunity and tremendous assistance and goodwill locally and internationally to become that country that can restore itself with significant resilience and building much better for the future. And a big part of that is working with businesses to make that happen.